welcome to the preview of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Stanley Cup Finals matchup is set. It will be the San Jose Sharks versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. The San Jose Sharks really are a great story because I don't think anybody expected the San Jose Sharks to be going to the Stanley Cup Finals this year, especially being that they were matched up against one of the favorites to be the Cup champions in the LA Kings in the first round. They virtually have the same group of core players they have had for the last couple of years, but they have never made it past the second round. But what made it so special this year? Perhaps it was the maturity and coming into the zone of some of their core players, especially Brent Burns, Joe Pavelski, Patrick Marleau, Joe Thornton, and Logan Couture. All those guys took a drastic leap into superstar rather than star in the playoffs. Despite showing signs that they are capable of beating top-tier teams, they will still be the underdog in this series, though, because Pittsburgh is loaded with stars. The Pittsburgh Penguins, going into this series, are favorites, but they will have their hands full with the San Jose Sharks because the Sharks are a team that are relentless and also filled with a lot of stars. This, as I said before, this series is filled with a lot of star players, so you can expect a lot of scoring. Not as much physical play, but because it's the Stanley Cup Finals and a lot is on the line, the teams will play out of character and they will take the body. There are a lot of stud players on both teams, but the difference is going to be goaltending and the key role players. Special teams is going to have to make a big difference. The series is going to come down to two factors: goaltending and depth scoring. If Pittsburgh wants to win the series, they will need to rely on their two stud players, Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby. They need to make their impact felt because the San Jose Sharks top players all are having tremendous playoffs. So if the Penguins want to win this series, Malkin and Crosby both need to make their thumbprints on this series. So whichever, like I said before, the two most important factors in this series are goaltending and depth scoring. Whichever team has better goaltending and whichever team has better depth scoring is likely going to win the Stanley Cup. The key players in the series are the goaltending matchup. Let's get started on the goaltending matchup first. Martin Jones for San Jose and Matt Murray for Pittsburgh. San Jose hasn't really ran into much issue with the goaltending issue. Although Martin Jones has been shaky at times, he hasn't really been tested all that much. This will be Martin Jones' first huge test in the playoffs, really. So it will be interesting to see how Martin Jones handles being tested with a heavy workload. Or will the San Jose Sharks defense block a lot of shots and make his job easy like he has had the entire playoffs, basically. Matt Murray has had a much busier playoffs than Martin Jones because they have had a much harder road to the playoffs, going through the Rangers, the Capitals, and the Lightning. Matt Murray versus Martin Jones is probably the least likely goaltending matchup that people would have expected. You would have probably expected Fleury to be starting for Pittsburgh, and you wouldn't have expected San Jose in the finals. So this is a very interesting goaltending matchup, and you don't know what to expect in the finals between the goalies because they haven't played in the finals before. So they are both new to this experience. With that, I give the goaltending edge to Pittsburgh because Matt Murray has been a beast all playoff long for Pittsburgh, whereas Martin Jones hasn't really been tested all that much. So you don't know how he's going to be handling the pressure of being pounded with shots. The key defensemen for San Jose are Brent Burns, Marc-Edouard Vlasic, and Paul Martin. I will start with the former Pittsburgh Penguin, Paul Martin. Paul Martin is going to have to play a key role in shutting down Evgeny Malkin. He's likely going to be matched against Evgeny Malkin. Paul Martin is a good, reliable veteran defenseman. He plays a good shutdown game now. He used to be a two-way defenseman, but at this point of his career, he's more of a reliable defensive defenseman. Marc-Edouard Vlasic, to me, is one of the best reliable shutdown defensemen in the NHL. That's why San Jose got that far. You think of the guys he had to go up against in the Western Conference, day in and day out. He's always matched up against top lines, but he always manages to have a good plus minus. That tells you something. And Brent Burns is the key to the San Jose Sharks defense. He has took a major leap in the right direction. He has took a leap from star player into a superstar caliber offensive defenseman. He can make his impact felt both offensively and with his body in the neutral zone with the big hits. He has finally learned to use his body to his advantage, which is a good thing for San Jose and a bad thing for his opponents. The thing about Brent Burns is he still has some weaknesses, but his strengths far surpass his weaknesses. And playing with Marc-Edouard Vlasic really help him. The Pittsburgh Penguins defense is headlined by Chris Letang, Brian DeMullen, and Olli Maatta. Olli Maatta actually is the X factor on the defense for the series because Olli Maatta is going to have the task at hand of playing against the Couture line. The Couture line actually has been very dangerous because Logan Couture has actually been the leading point getter in the NHL for the playoffs. So he's going to have his handful. And if Olli Maatta cannot stop Logan Couture, it's going to be a long series for Pittsburgh. Chris Letang and Brian DeMullen are now the first pair. Brian DeMullen played a pretty solid role in Game 7 in their victory against Tampa Bay. If Brian DeMullen can continue playing solid, the Penguins should be fine. The Penguins' core is always Chris Letang. Chris Letang always logs 30 to 35 plus minutes in the playoffs. He's a horse on the back end. To me, Chris Letang tries to do too much sometimes and ends up in turnovers in the neutral zone. You can't do that against San Jose because they are such a fast team and they make you pay. Another thing to watch out for playing against San Jose is you cannot get caught overloading against their star players like Thornton. That's what they try to do. They try to get you drawn over to Thornton, and then Pavelski's spread out in a scoring area. You can't lose track of Pavelski or Hurdle. Because when Thornton gets the puck, he's always looking to find an open guy. So you cannot go chasing Thornton, because Thornton, his goal is to lure people over to him so that his teammates get open for a shot. That's his tactic. Pittsburgh cannot get caught chasing. If they get caught chasing other Sharks players around, it will be a long series. The key forwards for San Jose are the top line for San Jose, which is Hurdle, Thornton, and Pavelski, which has been awesome the entire series or playoffs this year for San Jose. They have been absolutely phenomenal. Hurdle has been playing great on the top line. Thornton and Pavelski have almost had Thornton has had a bounce back year after a kind of so-so year last year, but this year he has had a great year. It seems like Thornton is dictating the pace of the game again, and he's a difference maker, definitely. You have to watch out for this line when they're on the ice at all times. And Joe Pavelski should definitely get a consideration for best goal scorer in the NHL because he's right up there. Couture is, like I said before, he's the leading point getter in the entire NHL this postseason. And you have to watch for Couture. Patrick Marleau, who plays on the line with Couture, is also an important factor. And the power play for San Jose is a big factor too. The first power play unit of Thornton, Pavelski, Couture, Marleau, and Burns is absolutely lethal. Pittsburgh needs to stay out of the box because if they take penalties, San Jose will score. You cannot take penalties against San Jose. And now for Pittsburgh's key players. Obviously, the two studs, like I mentioned before, Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby, they're going to have to play a big role if Pittsburgh is to win. Everyone knows about Crosby and Malkin. But what everyone was surprised about this playoffs is the emergence of the Hagelin, Bonino, and Kessel line. Phil Kessel actually has been the Penguins' best player this playoffs. And you can bet that being snubbed from Team USA for the World Cup is going to provide extra motivation for him. So Phil Kessel is going to be on a mission. Nick Bonino and Carl Hagelin should be up there in the underrated players category because Carl Hagelin is a huge difference maker for the Penguins. So is Nick Bonino. All situations, they kill penalties. They play on 5-on-5. They play on the second power play unit. They just do it all. And their speed creates a huge mismatch problem for other teams. The thing is, if you match Marc-Andre Vlasic and Brent Burns and Paul Martin against the top two lines, the Crosby and the Malkin line, who are you going to match up against the Hagelin, Bonino, and Kessel line? That's a huge problem. And you can't put Martin or Martin against the Kessel line, because then you don't have anyone to put on Malkin line. And you have to match up your best defensive defenseman against Crosby, because if you don't, he's going to have a good game. That's what's tough about playing Pittsburgh, because they have so much depth. And this next player really is the X factor for me. The X factor for Pittsburgh is Bryan Rust. After being added late into Game 6 to the Evgeny Malkin line alongside Chris Kunitz, Bryan Rust made a huge difference on the series. He added speed and added a new dynamic to the Chris Kunitz Evgeny Malkin line. He replaced Eric Fehr. Before, the Malkin line was invisible. Now, with the addition of Bryan Rust, he added speed, and that line is so much more dynamic. So Bryan Rust is the X factor. In Game 7, he scored a goal, and he had many opportunities to score. So Bryan Rust is the X factor. For San Jose, it's Joe Ward who's going to be the X factor, because Joe Ward has the tendency to score clutch goals. He's been to the playoffs before. He's playing in all situations. He plays on the second power play unit. He kills penalties. He's a veteran leader. He just knows what it takes to play in the playoffs. He's a no maintenance guy. He's just a coach's player. The predictions on this series are San Jose wins if their big guns like Pavelski, Thornton, Couture continue to stuff the stat sheet. They get depth scoring and get solid goaltending from Martin Jones. If the Hagelin, Bonino, and Kessel line remains dominant, with either the Crosby or Malkin line catching fire as well, with the combination of good goaltending from Matt Murray, my prediction is that the Penguins win in 6 games. Next episode, I'm going to be talking about a tale of 2 seasons. And this is going to do it for the episode of Stanley Cup Preview.